Hey everyone, welcome to the Ottawa Herald podcast. Each episode of the podcast will feature the voices making news in and around the Franklin County community. On this episode, if you or someone you know has ever asked the question, "What's a podcast?" this episode is for you. Guys, thanks for listening. Let's get started. Hey guys, I'm John Jared Hawks, and I am co-hosting this episode with Clint Dick, the Herald sports editor. Say hi, Clint.
Hey, what's up?
This episode is going to be a little bit different than the ones we'll normally be putting out. It's just us here in the studio, and we are answering the question, what is a podcast? And so we're going to, I actually did prepare some notes for this episode, so we're going to start off with...
I'm glad you did, because to be honest, John sent me a text message right before I came in here to our little recording studio, and I actually learned more about a podcast from one text message than I did probably in the 26 years I've been on this planet prior to that. So you did your homework, which is great.
That's good. Hopefully it's useful in some way, shape, or fashion. Okay, so first, the word podcast, and this is something I wrote down prior. So the word podcast is an amalgamation of the words iPod and broadcast. Podcast sort of rose to prominence as a form of broadcast media alongside the explosion in popularity of Apple's iPods in like the 2000s.
Yeah. And if you didn't know, this broadcast is being sponsored by iPod.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're going to get some angry phone calls from some Android users.
I'll just keep repeating iPod, no. But yeah, iPods, iPhones, and the name stuck, and it's used, of course, by people outside of the Apple world. Yeah.
I legitimately didn't know that, and I'm probably making myself sound stupid, but I actually did not know that's where the origins of the word came from.
Well,
I just thought it was a bunch of, people in one room sitting around microphones and talking about weird stuff, and they just came up with that name somewhere. So
exactly.
it's nice to know the origin in the name. I like that.
Yeah, there you go. And I'm kind of talking about this like it's ancient history, but I mean, it was like 5-7 years ago. This is still kind of a movement that is still kind of cooling, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. It's still coming along. So yeah. So that is the history of, or the etymology, we should say.
The origins. Yeah.
There's your $15 word for the day. Mm-hmm. Etymology of the word podcast. For me, when I'm trying to explain what a podcast is like to someone who's maybe unfamiliar to the idea, I pitch it as this. For those that are new to the idea of a podcast, you can think of it as like a radio show that you can listen to whenever you like.
Yeah, that's a cool way of putting it.
Yeah, and that like listen is key, because generally they're audio only, although something Clint pointed out before we started recording was that there are podcasts that do indeed include a video, and maybe ours will someday. We'll see where that one goes.
Yeah, they're found a lot of different places too. For me, I do like looking up and listening to podcasts on YouTube. I'm a big YouTube guy, which is where we're going to be putting ours, obviously. But they're big on radio, NPR and things like that. So they're kind of all over the place, but it's cool. It's a cool form of communication.
Yeah, definitely. They're found all over YouTube and different channels, and I listen to mine generally on Apple Podcasts. There's another Apple. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not actually sponsored by Apple.
So much for all the product integration.
Dang it. But yeah, there's a ton of different kinds of podcasts out there. Like for me, I listen to like a lot of news podcasts and some on just like different things that I'm interested in for my lifestyle. What kinds of podcasts do you listen to, Clint?
So, and I actually talked to John about this, yesterday, and it was, I don't know, I kind of geek out a little bit when I get going on something, especially when it's things that I find funny or things that I like, and it doesn't go away when I'm talking about podcasts. I listen to a lot of comedians. There's a lot of comedians out there who have regular shows that they put up on YouTube. I've been listening to a lot of scientific podcasts lately because I find some of that stuff fascinating, that deals with, the cosmos and the universe and stuff that honestly I don't understand, but I want to. So those are the kind of things that I listen to. And we hope here at the Ottawa Herald to bring, pretty exciting stuff that listeners want to listen to.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully it's not supposed to be a comedy podcast, but if you think it's funny because it's so terrible.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to make it a comedy podcast if I can.
There you go. We'll see. Yeah. In all seriousness, our vision for this podcast is to bring you guys, the readers and listeners, everything that our newspaper currently brings. So on here, you'll probably find some local news. That's the meat of things. But then also some sports podcasts, maybe even some opinion podcasts. And hopefully it's a podcast that integrates into your life. For me, I find the niche that podcasts fill. I can listen to these podcasts when I am cleaning my apartment, when I'm like going for a walk, taking the dog for a walk, when I'm driving and commuting in the morning. I can consume the stuff that I'm interested in and listen to it while my hands are busy. When I might not be able to.
It's a form of communication that does allow you to multitask, which is kind of great, and something that I really enjoy too as well. It's just like putting on music and kind of zoning out and doing stuff, except that, in this case, it's two guys talking.
Two guys, two or more.
Two guys chatting it up.
Yeah, we'll see for this explainer episode. Hopefully all this is making sense. I bet it will. We make a lot of sense.
It hasn't been too scientifically crazy for me to digest, so I think we're okay.
Unlocking the podcast with Clint and John. Let's see. Moving on. Oh, yeah. And we want you guys, our listeners, to be a part of this. If there are any subjects you'd like to hear us interview people on or talk about or stuff like that, be sure to send us your suggestions. Leave us a comment wherever you're listening to this on Facebook or YouTube or wherever, or drop us an email. We're always available at news@ottawaherald.com.
And we're always getting stuff like that, and that it really is kind of a big thing because the community is a big part of what we do here at the Ottawa Herald. So we're always open to hearing feedback and especially ideas. We want to put out stuff that people want to listen to, so that helps tremendously.
Definitely. Let's see. What else can we talk about pertaining to podcasts? I said it right before we started this show, but if this gets big and we break the internet, I fully expect us to have celebrity guests on here. We'll bring them down
I'm talking to you, Margaret Robbie.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe George Clooney, if he's available, to drop by Ottawa, Kansas for a little while.
I mean, I'm sure they'll be in the neighborhood one of these days.
One of these days.
I'll drop in.
If you're listening to this via YouTube and are wanting a visualization of what's going on here, John, by the way, has put together a pretty sweet setup. He's made what, before was just a very tiny conference room here at the Ottawa Herald building. And really isn't much bigger than, kind of a closet. I don't know. It's a small room. And you have kind of transformed this place into a really cool thing. You've got soundproof stuff on the walls. These really cool mics that we're talking into. I feel really cool because I used to work in radio back in college, and so being able to sit here and talk into a mic again is really exciting for me. And these are some pretty sweet mics. I'm not gonna lie. You got Audacity pulled up on the laptop. It's all cool, man. You've done a really great job at putting together, getting the equipment, and kind of making this feel like a real thing. Maybe not like a living, breathing thing. That would be a little weird, but it's really cool. It's really awesome. So for those of you tuning in and want a visualization of this, it's really cool. It's a really cool room here.
It's nice. Our beautiful little sound cave. We're just gonna produce
that's what it
amazing.
Is. That's a good word for it. A cave. A cave.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Hopefully it turns out some good stuff. I just moved this microphone before we even started to a different spot because I wasn't happy with it. So we'll see.
You've invested so much into this that you are now a little OCD about it's got to be just right.
It's got to be perfect, dang it.
Yes, it's got to be perfect. And that's a good thing to do. That's, that raises the quality level when somebody has that much invested. So it's really cool. It's a really cool thing. It's a new thing here at the Ottawa Herald, something that we're getting a little more into. And I think it's a really awesome thing. The more avenues of communication that you have open the cooler stuff that you get to do. More variety, which is always a great thing.
Definitely. It's no secret that the digital age has hit newspapers in a lot of different ways as far as their main product and what they produce and such. But this podcast is one of the things that the industry is doing to diversify kind of and find different ways to still bring the same. I mean, the content hasn't changed. Hopefully not. I mean, newspapers are still bringing the same quality news that they have been, but we've got to find ways to fit it into people's lives when people are, they're just busier now.
Yeah, and it doesn't take away from anything either. It doesn't take away from, what we already do with print stories, online, video, photos, all that kind of stuff. And it's another way to digest information, and something that I always liked about not just podcasts, but, back when I was in radio, is I always felt like that form of communication was very easily digestible. So I'm really excited for this. It's really cool. Yeah. As John mentioned a couple minutes ago, I'm going to be doing my best to get in some regular sports podcasts, sportscasts. I don't know if you call them
there
that.
You go.
It sounds cool when I say it like that. And that I'm pretty excited for. I've got a couple ideas for a few already. Hopefully we'll be able to get a few people from out in the community here in the studio. But I'm pretty excited about that. Pretty excited about bringing some sports-related ideas to this new thing you got going on.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be looking forward to those. That's what's nice. There's not a whole lot to explain. It's a pretty simple.
I think most people kind of understand what a podcast is,
at this point.
And I think it's this is a nice little intro into, hey, we got this going on now. This is something new that you can tune into and listen to and things like that. I think it's pretty great. Pretty great.
Definitely. Well, yeah. So, guys, if you are, hopefully this answered most or all of your questions, but if you're still left with any questions, again, hit us up at news@ottawaherald.com. That's our email, how you can reach us, or you can leave us a comment wherever you're listening to this, and we'll be sure to answer your question as quick as possible.
Yeah, an actual question is, how does John get his hair so luscious? I know you can't see it, but it's pretty wonderful. It's pretty great.
There you go. Even if your comment is just telling me how good I looked right now, even if you can't see
we
me.
have the perfect the perfect faces for podcasts. It used to be they used to say that for radio.
Yeah.
Now we're doing a podcast. Oh yeah, that'll work.
I got the perfect faces for podcasting.
Yeah.
Gosh, cool. Well, yeah. Cheers, guys. I am John Jared Hawks.
I'm Clint Dick.
And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. That was such a weird way to say that. I'm probably just going to do the outro like a voiceover.
Godspeed.
Godspeed.